When an avoidant has their fears triggered, they begin to do something called deactivation. That's essentially when they take their emotions, they suppress them. A brick wall comes up inside of themselves, and they no longer allow themselves to access their feelings. They begin to shut down. And it's like a switch goes off and you're dealing with an entirely different person that is distant, cold, vague, and lacks empathy. So what causes this deactivation? What are the triggers? Here are some of the main triggers of avoidant deactivation. The number one trigger is emotional intimacy and vulnerability. Avoidants fear emotional intimacy. They fear being vulnerable with a partner. That's because at an early age, the people they relied on for their emotional needs, they let them down. They disappointed them. They weren't there for them. The avoidant felt rejected and abandoned as a child, and they weren't allowed to express their emotions. So they've learned to associate emotional intimacy with abandonment. The fear is, if you get too close, if you get behind that castle wall that they built around their heart, you're going to figure out that the avoidant is in fact unlovable. You're not going to like the real them, and you're going to reject and abandon them. And they have a paralyzing fear of abandonment. So intimacy scares the daylights out of them. Another trigger, number two, is the relationship is taking up too much of their time, which is infringing on their independence. Avoidance, well, because they learn to only rely on themselves, they value independence, but they value it in a very unhealthy way. And when a relationship is taking its normal course and you're spending a regular amount of time with your partner, that scares them. That makes them feel uncomfortable, makes them feel overwhelmed, like they're losing control. The third major trigger is that the avoidant is starting to feel things. They're starting to actually feel things for this person, feel real emotions that are a little more than just surface level. That scares them, so they don't let those feelings develop. They quickly shut it off and deactivate because they don't want to get attached, because that's scary. That leads to emotional intimacy. So they tend to run from partners that actually make them feel things. The fourth major trigger is that the partner is pushing for closeness. The partner is pushing for emotional intimacy with the avoidant. That makes the avoidant feel pressured. It makes them feel like they're pressured to be something for this person, pressured to be emotionally active and available in the relationship, present to actually be emotionally present with the other person. So that scares the avoidant. This pressure, and this pressure may not even be real pressure. It may just be the avoidant's partner trying to get close to them, trying to get to know them, expressing love and vulnerability on the other person's side. And the avoidant will take that as being too needy, too pushy, and pressure to be emotionally available and intimate. And that can also cause the avoidant to shut down and discard their partner altogether. Now, another trigger, the fifth major trigger, is when the avoidant is in any kind of conflict with their partner, when there's any kind of disagreement. Avoidants do not handle conflict well. They fear rejection. They don't know how to handle differences of opinion, and they really struggle to communicate and open up about their opinions on things. They often don't communicate about their own needs and wants and emotional needs at all. They fear that they'll get rejected and abandoned if they assert themselves. So when any kind of conflict or disagreement arises, and it can be something very small, this can trigger the avoidant fears and cause them to completely deactivate. There are other things that can trigger them too, but the number one trigger is really that fear of intimacy, that closeness that starts to build when a relationship becomes real. And things that signify that the relationship is progressing are what scare them the most. For example, it may be putting a title on the relationship, or it could be marriage or being engaged, or maybe even a family member or a friend makes a comment along the lines of, when are you two going to get married? Or you two would make beautiful babies. And that triggers the avoidance fears because, oh my God, this relationship is real. I have to be vulnerable with this person. They have to get to know me intimately. That scares them. They shut down, quickly deactivate, and will give vague excuses to their partner. I can't give you what you need. I'm not ready for a relationship right now. I just need time and space to work on myself. And the list goes on and on. But ultimately, those are the main things that can cause an avoidant to deactivate, shut down, discard a partner, and run away completely. Understand, that is their own childhood attachment issue. It is their childhood attachment wounds. You didn't cause any of this. This is stuff that starts in childhood, and they never work on it. They never self-reflect to deal with it because they run from their problems, and they carry it through to adulthood. It is not a reflection of you. When your avoidant partner shuts down, they become cold, they lack empathy. You didn't cause that. That is not your doing. That is a reflection of them, their own unhealed wounds, as well as their character. Don't blame yourself, because if you blame yourself, you prolong your pain. You prolong your suffering and the duration of the time that it takes to get over this person. So be kind to yourself. Don't take ownership of their traumas. That's not beneficial to you at all.